MJ DeMarco's book, The Millionaire Fastlane, has to be one of the most polarizing books out there in the whole world of finance. It promises this incredible shortcut to wealth, a way to retire young and rich, totally outside the normal system. So the big question is it a brilliant roadmap to freedom, or is it a super risky, even dangerous detour? All right, let's get into it.
Okay, so the whole idea kicks off with something DeMarco calls the Lamborghini prophecy. Picture this. He's just a teenager. He sees this young guy driving a Lamborghini Countach, and it just hits him. It was this powerful realization that, wait a minute, you could get rich without being some famous celebrity or athlete. That single moment really ignited this lifelong quest to find a totally different path, a fast lane, one that didn't mean you had to sacrifice your youth for a payoff way down the road in old age.
So to really get what the fast lane is all about, you first have to understand DeMarco's main argument, that our financial lives are pretty much governed by one of three different roadmaps that we choose to follow. And this, right here, is why the book hits home for so many people. It just goes right for the throat of the whole get rich slow idea. Work for 40 years, save your money, and hope you'll be rich when you're 65. DeMarco basically calls this a sucker's bet. A plan that makes you wager your most vibrant years for a reward that might not even be there in the end. Now, take a look at this table. It really lays out the three paths super clearly. First, you've got the sidewalker. They're living for today, juggling income and debt, and well, they usually end up poor. Then there's the slowlaner, who trades their time for a job, banking on compound interest to do its thing over decades, which DeMarco argues just leads to mediocrity. But the fast laner, that's a different story. They build a business system and see wealth as more than just money. It's about family, fitness, and freedom. And this is where you see the huge mindset shift. For the slow laner, time is a liability. It's what you trade for a paycheck. Your wealth formula is basically your job plus whatever the stock market feels like giving you. But for the fast laner, time is your single most valuable asset. The wealth formula is all about a business system that you control and that you can scale up with the very clear goal of retiring young. So, if you're ditching the 9-to-5 and the 401k, how do you actually do it? How do you build wealth in the fast lane? It all comes down to one big idea. You gotta stop being a consumer and start being a producer. So, DeMarco's whole argument pretty much boils down to this. Society has two teams. There's the huge majority of consumers, and then there's this tiny minority of producers. Consumers are the ones buying all the stuff, taking the classes, using the services. The producers, they're the ones selling it all. And if you want to get rich, well, DeMarco says you've got to switch teams. Simple as that. He actually calls these things money trees, and he breaks them down into 5 main types. You can build rental systems, think real estate, or computer systems like software as a service, content systems, hey, like this very book, distribution systems like Amazon or franchising, or human resource systems where you build a team to run the whole show for you. With all of these, the goal is the same. Create a system that makes money without you having to trade your time for it. Okay, so that all sounds amazing, right? But this is where the dream takes a serious nosedive right into reality, because a really sharp review of the book points out this massive, massive flaw in DeMarco's own math. Yeah, a deep dive from a site called PrimeInvestor says that the book's claims about your chances of success, well, they're not just a little optimistic, they're dangerously misleading. And just look at this chart. This is a total bombshell, and it comes from DeMarco's own numbers. The odds of succeeding in the slow lane, it's 1 in 6, so about 17%. The odds in the fast lane, 1 in 7, or 14%. Yeah, you heard that right. According to the book itself, the safe path actually has a slightly better chance of success. The reviewer just calls this depiction ridiculous. And look, this isn't just one cranky reviewer. All across the financial independence community, there's this huge debate raging about the fast lane philosophy. And it all comes back to one big word: risk. This is pretty much the number one thing you hear. The fast lane demands that you take on huge personal and financial risk. The book might make it sound like this exciting adventure, but for a lot of people, the potential downside, losing everything, is just too high a price to pay. Another huge point people bring up is survivorship bias. I mean, DeMarco's success came from a very specific business, a limousine website, during the dot-com boom. So critics are like, hey, that worked for him during that unique time, but is that really a formula anyone can repeat today? And for a lot of people, this really settles it. You know, they'd much rather take the slow, steady, predictable path to a good life than roll the dice on some crazy all-or-nothing shot at being mega rich. For them, being safe is way more important than being fast. But you gotta hear the other side of this. There's a really powerful counter-argument. The people who defend the fast lane, they see failure totally differently. It's not the end of the world. It's just a learning experience. They say, look, what's the absolute worst that can happen? You try for 10 years and it doesn't work out. You just go get a normal job, which is exactly where you would have been anyway. For them, that potential reward is definitely worth the risk.
Okay, so we've got these two totally different ways of looking at the world. One promises speed and freedom, but it comes with immense risk. The other offers security and predictability, but at the cost of your time. And that brings us to the real question, the one that matters most.
And listen, there is no single right answer here at all. The right path for you isn't in some book. It's not in this analysis. It's about who you are, what your life looks like, and honestly, what you're really willing to put on the line. And that really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? There was this great comment on that critical review from a guy who actually got rich the slow way. He just said, "To each their own, we are all unique. It's not about which path is the best. It's about which path is the best for you." All right, so let's boil this whole thing down. The fast lane is a high-octane gamble. It demands everything you have for a shot at incredible rewards. The slow lane is a safer, marathon-like journey that trades your time for security. The choice between them, it isn't really a financial calculation. It's a personal one. And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. Is get rich slow really the safe bet in a world that's anything but? Or is it just a guarantee that you're putting your life and your biggest dreams on hold? The answer to that, well, that's up to you.